Hey, how's it going? Seth here from REtipster.com. And as a land investor, something that you'll probably find quite useful for the properties you're dealing with is drone footage and drone photography. So while drone footage and photography used to be kind of a novelty back in the day when drones were first becoming a thing that you could buy and own as a consumer and as a professional, they're not really a novelty anymore. They're kind of commonplace. If you go and check out a lot of the property listings for people who are selling vacant land, especially higher end, more expensive vacant land, you'll notice that drone pictures and photography are pretty commonplace now. And for good reason, because drone pictures can really reveal a lot about a property that you can't see in any other way. Sure, it is definitely useful to have pictures of a property from the ground or on the interior of the parcel of land as you're looking around, or from the road, that kind of thing. And it's also very helpful to have satellite imagery so you can see the parcel on the earth and where it lies relative to everything else. But drone pictures and videos can reveal things that both of those other types of pictures just can't show you, both from a due diligence standpoint as you're doing your research to understand what's on the property and what's around the property, and also from a selling standpoint when it comes time to actually sell the thing. So for example, on the due diligence side, let's say you have a property under contract, that seller has committed to selling the property to you, and you're trying to do your homework to make sure you understand what you're really buying. A satellite picture is going to show you a picture of that property from maybe 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 5 years ago, or maybe you won't be able to see satellite imagery at all if it's way out in the middle of nowhere. So if somebody just went out to the property last week and dumped a bunch of tires on the property, or cut all the trees down, or say there was maybe a landslide that wiped out half of the property itself, you're not really going to be able to see that from a satellite picture. Likewise, if you only send somebody to the property to take pictures with their phone from the ground, that could be helpful as well. But if it's a huge property, it's not going to show you everything there is to see about the property, and it may or may not show you what the neighboring properties look like as well. It also won't show you a whole lot about the terrain and topography of the property from the sky. It's not the same as a topo survey necessarily, but it still gives you a much better look at the whole property in one frame, so you can see exactly what it looks like from the sky and what the surrounding properties look like. So from a due diligence standpoint, drone videos and photography can be extremely useful. And then on the selling side, a well-taken drone picture or video can really give you a stunning look at the property that just really speaks volumes about what you're getting, especially if the shot was taken well and then even edited well on top of that, which we'll get into in just a second. So there's no question that drone photos and videos can be extremely useful both on the buying and selling end when you're dealing with vacant land. So do you absolutely need drone videos and pictures in order to buy and sell a property? I think the short answer is no. I've bought and sold hundreds of properties without ever getting drone stuff involved. So you don't necessarily need to do this, but I think it can absolutely be useful. It can really answer a lot of questions for you that you may not even have until you see what comes back from these drone pictures. So how exactly do you get these drone videos or pictures of your property? Well, if you have your own drone, like I do, you could go out there and get it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that it's going to take you a whole lot of time. And obviously, if you don't have a drone, or even if you do, but you don't really know how to fly it that well or take pictures at the right angles, there's just a lot of opportunities to kind of mess this up. And even if you know exactly what you're doing, it's just very time consuming to drive out to the property yourself and try to do this. I've done it plenty of times before, and I can certainly do a good job at it, but it's just not the best use of my time at the end of the day. So really what I think a better answer is to use a marketplace where you can find these drone pilots all over the country who are commercially licensed, and they can get out to your property for you and get these drone videos and pictures for you. And there's a bunch of different places where you can do this. At the time of this recording, kind of the main marketplace that I hear about the most is droners.io, which is from a company called Precision Hawk. And it's really easy to post a job and place an order for a drone pilot to get out there and get what you need. And in doing this, it's really important to give good instructions so they understand exactly what you want. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And keep in mind, Droners is not the only place you can do this. There's other websites like Thumbtack. I know you can find drone pilots, and Bark.com. You can find drone pilots. I've never done that through either one of those websites, but they have a job category for that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's other places to do this, but again, the time of this recording, Droners is sort of like the go-to place that I always think of. So I actually need to get some drone footage of a property right now. So I'm going to show you how this process works. on droners. This is what the website looks like. This is the homepage at the time of this recording. If you're watching this in the future, it may look a little bit different. Even if you are using a different platform to order this kind of job, the same principles will apply in terms of how you get the process started, how you find somebody, but most importantly, how you actually give good instructions so that that drone pilot understands how to find the property, where it is, and then once they get there, what exactly you expect to see from them. So, when you get the final product back, hopefully it will be what you want. And, keep in mind, you're dealing with human beings here. There are varying levels of quality. There is human error. There's all kinds of potential like, oops, things that can happen. So don't expect perfection here, but this will hopefully get you as close to the mark as what you're expecting to see. So first up, we're going to click on post a job. You can either do it right here or up here at the top. And we got to start off by giving them a location. And interesting thing about vacant land is that a lot of times the vacant lot that you're dealing with will not have a physical mailing address. So if it does have one, just put that right here. But if it doesn't, there are some other ways that you can explain where the property is located. And in my case, I've actually got a few different ways to do this. First of all, we can use the coordinates. So we're going to do this right here. And I use DataTree to pull lists and do property research. And in DataTree, they have what's called a property detail report. And in that property detail report, it will show you the coordinates for where that property is. Regardless of whether there's a mailing address, it'll show you exactly what coordinates you could plug into Google Earth and find that exact location. So I'm going to go ahead and put that here. There's a latitude and there's the longitude. And even beyond that, keep in mind, this is going to show us a single point on Earth, but if this is like a huge parcel of land, in my case, this is a 5-acre parcel of land, it's not really enough to just know that point. You also want to know like where the boundary is, where's the north, south, east, and west boundary, where are the corners of the property. And I've actually got a separate video explaining how you can map this out on Google Earth and save it as a file that you can then send to a person and they can open it up on their computer and it will show you that exact mapped out location in Google Earth on their computer. It's pretty cool. So if you want more details about how I did what I'm about to show you, I'll include a link. You can check out that video as well. And just to show you what I mean, I'm going to click on this KMZ file and open it up for you so you can see exactly what I mean in terms of what this looks like on Google Earth. So it's going to zoom in here and it shows us this little parcel map that I drew. And it's kind of a 3D thing that comes off the earth and shows you exactly where the parcel is. So you can send this KMZ file to the drone pilot or just upload it to the job so that whoever you do hire for this job can have no question about where this thing is on Earth so that they can get to it. And even if this is too complex for you, another thing you can do is get like a snapshot of the parcel map from DataTree, that kind of thing, and upload that too. So I'm actually going to do all of it just to eliminate any ambiguity about where this property is. And hopefully they'll be able to follow and figure out how to get to it. So I'm going to upload that KMZ file right here. And then I'm also going to upload the parcel map images that I took from DataTree and from Google Earth. Here's the DataTree one. And you could also paste a URL for the site boundaries. I think what this is referring to is if you're using something like Land ID, which gives you a really cool way to be able to map out where a property's boundaries are and then share that URL with somebody else so they can just click on it and see exactly where it is and then get directions to that. I've got a separate video on that too as well. But if you had something like that, you could paste that in here too. But I'm hoping this is going to be enough. Another thing I could do here is paste the address of the nearest location that does have an address. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that. And I'm going to try to clarify later on if I'm able to, just that this isn't the actual location. It's just the nearest drivable address to our subject property. Hopefully this will suffice. So let's go ahead and click next. Now we're going to select the job category. So we're going to select real estate for this. Seems like the most accurate one. And then who is able to bid on this job? So we're going to say all interested pilots. So when do you need it completed by? You could say on a specific date or I'm flexible. So let's say if you had a event happening on a specific date and you need the footage taken of that event as it's happening. I think that's probably what this would be for. Say if you need it done on a specific date. Or you could say I'm flexible. And then when it says, do you need the job completed by a specific date? I'm going to say, let's have it done within the next month. And hopefully that's enough time. If my timeline was more urgent, I could say within a week. That might limit my choices of which people could bid on the job. But anyway, so I'm going to say a month for now. We'll see how that goes. And then do you need multiple pilots? Nope. Is this a recurring shoot? Nope, it's not. Required drone insurance? I'm going to say not required. And budget, do you know how much you want to spend? So this is actually a pretty good question in terms of how much does this drone footage even cost? Like how much should you expect to be paying for this kind of thing? That is one of their frequently asked questions over here. And it looks like most pilots typically charge 75 to 150 bucks an hour. In addition to that, you may have to pay for any editing if you need it. That depends on if you want them to do anything fancy. Like say if you get the video taken and then you want them to also put partial lines on the footage to show where the property is as the drone is moving throughout the scene. I've seen this done pretty well and it actually looks pretty cool, but you don't have to do that. You could just get raw footage and then you're not even going to use the video footage per se. You're just going to use it to pause the video and then take screenshots of the video to get the exact shot you want. That's usually what I would suggest, because with a video, you're not really relying on when the drone photographer decides to point the camera down and take the picture. They're basically getting thousands of little pictures for you, and then you can pick which one is just right and you can get it that way. So it still doesn't necessarily mean your footage is going to be amazing. I mean, they can still screw it up by not getting the right footage, but it gives you a whole lot more options to work with if you just get footage and then use that for your pictures. And a typical real estate shoot can be as low as $100. I would plan to spend maybe a few $100 on this, and this depends greatly on a lot of different factors, but I typically don't even think about this unless my budget is a few $100s, and it could go up from there, and it may or may not be worth it depending on your property and what you need and how pretty it needs to look and that kind of thing. So for the budget, I'm gonna say $300, and hopefully that'll end up being enough. And for the title, so this is where you're essentially creating a job posting, kind of a similar concept to Craigslist, but this is just going to a very specific marketplace of drone pilots. So you just say drone video needed, a vacant land parcel, and then put the name of your market, and then please include a job description of your job here. So there can actually be a lot to this if you want to give very thorough, detailed instructions, which I would recommend that you do. You can go nuts here, basically writing a short novel about what you expect. And I don't necessarily think you need to go that far, but you should be pretty thorough about, what kinds of shots you expect, where they should be taken from what angles, from what altitude, how many shots from each angle. If there's a specific time of day, that kind of thing can be useful just to let them know that. And also, for example, in my original posting here, I put that address of the nearest property that had a mailing address, but that's not the actual location. So I'm going to want to spell that out too, just so it's clear. And, no matter what you put here, it doesn't necessarily mean that the drone pilot is going to read all your instructions and do it exactly according to what you say. And if you make your instructions confusing, that's probably just going to muddy the waters even further. So you kind of have to be a good judge of, how to clearly and concisely explain exactly what you want and include all the pertinent details. And anyway, but that's where you would put it here. If you want an example of what I think this looks like when it's done well, I'm going to include a downloadable example beneath this video just so you can check that out and see one way to do this. It's not the way you have to, but it's one way that I think can work pretty well. And I actually got a lot of this example instruction from a guy named John Peterson, who has his own drone photography business called Peterson's Skycam. I'll include a link to that as well. But a lot of these instructions came from John because he understands what good instruction looks like what he would need to see if he was going out to a photo shoot, and also what he would give another drone pilot if he wanted them to go out and do a good job for him. So he sent me some example instructions, and I kind of retooled it a little bit to, condense it a little bit and make it my own. But I just wanted to give a shout out to John because he gave me a really good example to work with. But yeah, if you want to see an example of what that kind of good instruction looks like, you can check that out beneath this video, and I'll include that as a downloadable resource as well. Okay, so now when it gets down here to include the description of the job, so there's a lot of information that you can choose to include here, and it's possible to overdo it and possible to underdo it. I've already put together my instructions for this job on a different sheet, and I'm just going to paste it right in here. So, as you can see, it's fairly detailed. I'm not leaving a whole lot of ambiguity about what I expect to see. Yours don't have to be this long, or they could be longer. But anyway, if you want an example of what I think good instructions look like, which was, again, educated quite a bit by what John put together, check that out as well. And down here, you can say whether or not you want this photographer to do additional editing. So say if you wanted, parcel lines drawn on it, which can be fairly complex. I'm not sure exactly what mechanisms they use to do that or how accurate it might be. Or if you wanted them to make a montage of the video with music in the background and make it look all pretty, you could request that too. And just, if you do request that, be sure to explain very clearly what you expect to see. And I know how to do this kind of editing myself. And whether it's parcel lines or putting together a nice video. So I'm not gonna select this. And another part of the reason why I'm not gonna do it is because I don't really know how good it's gonna be if I do this. Like, this drone pilot is a drone pilot first and foremost, not necessarily a video editor, which is a completely different specialty. So I've seen this done really well and really poorly. So I'm gonna rely more on myself. And even if I don't do any editing at all, it's still gonna be really helpful to see just the raw video footage or pictures of this parcel of land. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna uncheck this and then I'll click advanced options. What is this? So level. So it looks like you can do entry, intermediate, or advanced. I'm gonna go with intermediate just to hopefully up the chances of getting a better product. How long will it be on site? Maybe 1 or 2 hours, which may be a little overestimating. I guess it depends how quickly they work. When I do this kind of thing myself, I can knock it out in less than an hour, but given that I'm throwing a lot of instructions at this person, I'll give them ample time to do this. And then required capabilities, so we can do 4K video. 4K video is very, very helpful. I might even say essential for drone footage, because when you consider that a drone is flying way, way, way back, there's a lot of tiny little details you want to be able to see so that you could either zoom in if you want to, or if you had a higher resolution screen, you could actually see those details. Whereas, just normal HD footage like 1080 might miss some of that stuff. So I'm going to say definitely yes to the 4K video. And luckily, pretty much every drone out there these days has this capability. So we're not asking a lot here. We just want to make sure they're actually shooting it at that resolution. LiDAR, that's for like survey stuff. That's not really necessary here. Yeah, I mean, since we're mainly just getting video here, we're going to take snapshots of that video. I'm not going to ask for anything else. And the required drones, I don't think this really matters. I know a lot of people have DJI drones, which I think is sort of like the industry standard, depending on whether it's like a consumer or professional level drone. But yeah, I'm just going to leave this blank. And then we'll go next. So one thing John had shared with me is this thing right here. He sent me this PDF, and in the PDF, he put like actual pictures of the parcel, kind of showing the angles, at which he expected to see the pictures. This is kind of like going above and beyond. I don't think most people necessarily need to do this, but if you wanted to provide like the most possible information, you could do this kind of thing. And if you did do that, you could upload that here. You could also upload, say if you had example video shots or example pictures to kind of illustrate what you're expecting to see, you could do that too. What I did in my description was, in the posting, I included links to a Google Drive video files that showed examples of the video shots that I'm expecting to see. So I've kind of already done that, but if I didn't do that, I could upload that here. But I think I'm pretty much done here. So go ahead and post the job. And the next step is to wait for some bids to come in. And it's gonna show you some examples right here that you could invite to the job as well. It doesn't mean they're going to actually bid on the job, but you could at least make sure they're aware of your job. And I believe it is suggesting these people first and foremost based on their location, like how far away they are from your property, because we can see the #1 recommendation is a person 43 miles away. So I guess their distance from the site, probably their average hourly rate. I'm gonna go ahead and invite a few of these that I think look good to me. We can also see their rating over here in some cases, which is obviously a helpful thing to see. So this price looks pretty darn good, and that rating looks good as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and invite them to the job. So we'll do this. And this person's got 44 flights. I'm not seeing any ratings, but I'll go ahead and invite them too. And let's see here if anybody else looks good. So they got 31 flights, 5.0, that's a good rating. They're a little ways away, but I can invite them. You never know, maybe they may or may not apply, but we'll see what happens. This guy too. And keep in mind, we can also click on these people and actually like see a little bit more information on there, which, in a lot of cases, they might have a portfolio showing some examples of their work. If we're not sure whether or not we trust this person to do a good job, we can just see other stuff they've done. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done. Now, if we go up here to my jobs, we can see just the summary of the jobs out there that are waiting to be done. In this case, we've only got one. So that's pretty much it. Now at this point, I'm just going to hang out here until the bids come in, and then I'm going to hire somebody, and then I'm going to let them do the job, and then I will show you what I get back from them. And I'll also let you know how long it took to get that.
A few moments later.
Okay, so it's been a few hours. I took a little break just to let the bids come in and see what happened. And looks like we've got a bunch of them already. So 7 new messages. I'll go ahead and click on this, see what came in. And I would imagine, some of these are the people that I invited, and some of them are probably just coming in out of the blue. So this one I invited says, hey, thanks for the invitation on the bid. I can get this job done this week. Kind of shows me the gear he's got. Let's check this out a little bit closer, see what this is all about. And kind of what I'm looking for here is just that this pilot kind of understands the basics of how to shoot drone footage, and that usually involves very smooth and steady movements, not jerking around, and also keeping the right thing in the frame, like being able to see the sky and the horizon and the land. You might be surprised, some people just have no eye for this kind of stuff. Most people who are established drone pilots probably get it, or they wouldn't be doing this for very long. Wow, that's gross. Looks like this guy isn't trying to like make an amazing cinematic production in this particular shot. He's just trying to inspect this property. So let's see if he's got any other good ones here. Okay, so that's a nice steady shot. All right, check out another shot here. Property pen. Let's see how smooth he can do this. And let's see if he can keep everything in the frame. Fairly smooth. And it looks like this is just his raw video footage, nothing that he edited, which is fine. Not expecting anything fancy, just kind of need the fundamentals to be in place. And what I like about this is that the bid is $300, so it's within my budget. And he also says I can get this job done this week. That's also really good. So just that right there, I think this person's a front runner. I also invited them, so there you go. Looks like this is another person. Their bid is a little bit higher than I asked for, but let's just take a look at what they can do. Maybe they're amazing or something. Okay, so these are some aerial pictures that they've taken just to kind of show me what they're capable of. Kind of looks like they did a little bit of photo editing to make them look a little bit nicer. That's good. It's actually kind of a nice bonus if somebody not only knows how to fly a drone, but also understands how to tweak their pictures a little bit to keep them accurate, but make them look a lot better by enhancing certain colors and that kind of thing. So that's nice. Let's check out one other person here. This person has a $260 bid. Let's check them out. Okay. So doesn't give you a whole lot of information, which is fine. I didn't necessarily ask for it. Let's go ahead and view his portfolio. Check out this. That looks pretty nice. Nice. Okay, so this is actually a really good example of what some drone pilots can do if you hire them to edit your video as well. I really like what they did there with putting the parcel lines on there. Also, their drone footage just by itself was really good in terms of getting nice views, and the lighting and the angles were good. And also the music they put in the background, the way they stitched it together. Like that's a pretty darn good drone video right there. Let's check this one out. See if that was just a fluke or if they can do it again. There you go. Okay, I think I'm sold on this person. I'm liking what I see, everything all around, and the price is good and good reviews and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and hire this pilot here and hire him out. It says, in order to accept this bid, you'll need to update your payment info. No problem. Go ahead and enter in my credit card. Okay, so I got my credit card digits entered in there. I'm gonna hire this pilot. All right, they're hired, and now we play the waiting game.
3 weeks later.
Okay, I'm back. It's been 3 weeks, and I'm going to show you what has happened in the time since I originally placed this order. So originally I placed this order on August 28th, and a couple weeks later, looks like it was September 12, that was when he uploaded the pictures and the video to me, and that looked like this. He shared a Google Drive folder with me with tons of stuff in it, lots of individual images and also video. So in each of these things, I can see a lot of different pictures he took, and this wasn't necessarily what I was going for. I mean, this is certainly helpful. It's a great picture right there, but what I was going for was just the video so that I could watch the video and then take my own snapshots. So this is all good and fine. No complaints there. Looks great. But if we go back here to the video folder, so we can see lots of different video shots here. And just as I requested, this is all 4K footage. And I actually downloaded all this stuff earlier. So I'm going to quick show you what I downloaded. So this is one of the videos. And if I'm seeing this right, just looking at the dates from when these videos were taken, it looks like he visited the property twice, which is kind of above and beyond what I was even expecting from him, because some of these shots are taken at sunset here, which look awesome, and some of them were taken during the day, like this one. Now, as you'll see here, it's hard to see where the property is exactly because this is a landlocked parcel of land. It does have physical access, but there's not like an obvious marker of like, hey, here's the boundary. So what I asked him to do, I didn't originally placed this order this way, as you probably remember, but what I did was I went back and I was like, hey, I actually really liked the edited version of the videos that you did. Could you possibly do one of those for me too and put those parcel lines on the ground so we can see them in the video? And he said, yeah, sure. And then he also asked me if I wanted to include any specific details in that video, like lower thirds text or anything on the screen. So I sent him just some basic details that he could throw on there. And he sent me this. Let's check out his edited version of the video. Nice. Doesn't that help to see the parcel lines right there on the ground? That's way more informative than just having, you know, empty land there. And that lowered thirds text looks great on the screen. So there you go. That's a pretty solid 50-second video I can include in my property listing. And I don't know what most pilots normally charge for that kind of thing, if they can even do that kind of thing, but I'm paying them an extra $100. So the original job was $260. I was charged for that through Droners, so the charge comes from the website. I don't pay this guy directly. But then for this extra video that's outside of the project I paid for here, I'm gonna send him $100 through PayPal. But if I had done this right, I probably would have just paid $360 all through Droners. And just to show you what I mean in terms of how to take pictures of the video to use in your listing. So if you're on a Mac, it's really easy to do this. So let's say I want this picture. I'm not saying this is perfect, but all I'd have to do on a Mac is hit Command-Shift-4, and then it gives me this little crosshairs thing, and I can click and drag, and as soon as I release, it's going to take a snapshot of that. And there we go. Now I have a picture. So in terms of how to get a snapshot of your screen on Windows, to do this exact same thing, just doing a quick Google search, it looks like if you press Windows key and Shift and S on your keyboard, at the top you can select whether you want to take a rectangular snip, freeform snip, window snip. So for those of you on PCs, there you go. I hope that works for you. But again, once you have the video files, you'll have literally thousands of different individual images you can pick from just by playing it on your screen, hitting pause, and then taking snapshots for yourself. So there you go. That's Droners. Hope you found that helpful. If you ever decide to get drone footage, like I said, there's several different places you can find this kind of work, but Droners is kind of just like the place that I've always heard people going, and it's the place that I've gone when I've needed this kind of help. As you can see, it works pretty well. So if you decide to get drone footage, I wish you all the best. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see some other interesting drone related videos that I've made in the past, check out this one right here. And I hope you find it helpful. Thanks for watching. See ya.